Hey everybody, welcome to Old Roommates. Today on the show, we revisit The Commitments, the 1991 musical drama comedy from Ireland. It is our special St. Patrick's Day week episode. So try a little tenderness and join us.
Welcome, everyone, to Old Roommates, the only podcast that revisits pop culture through a middle-aged lens. This is Christina.
And this is Brian.
And we're talking about The Commitments.
Yes.
Yes, 1991. I didn't have my notebook open when you started saying that. But yes, 1991. And, so Brian.
Yeah.
Let's start the way we always do.
Yeah, the way we always do.
Did I say it just like you? The way we always do. With the thens. Brian, tell us.
When
were you?
True story. I saw this in the movie theater. I know, super fancy.
Mm-hmm.
Back in 1991. I was excited to see this movie because Christina is about to eat ginger chew.
I'm just going to lick it.
Oh my god.
Sorry, you're in the theater.
In the theater, and I don't remember who I saw it with, but I absolutely knew that I was really wanting to see it. Mm-hmm. It was like this little indie movie, and it had got some really great reviews, and I was excited to see it. And I think also, too, just like it was, this Irish export, you know, and I don't think there were a lot of movies. Well, I guess that's the thing with it's not a foreign film, but I think it's like it's almost getting as cultured as you can get without having to read subtitles. But I think there are a lot of.
Although it might have been helpful at this point.
Yeah, some of them. Mine were on for the rewatch. Yeah, But yeah, and I have to be honest, I liked it. I really liked it. Now, the soundtrack I remember being a huge thing. Mm-hmm. I didn't have the soundtrack, though. I think it wasn't necessarily my kind of music, but I remember truly really liking the movie, and I thought I just remember thinking the cast was so charming and engaging, and I liked all the shenanigans, and I was a fan. Yeah. Awesome. And I definitely remember seeing it again, on VHS when it came out and all that. So I probably saw it more than a few times back in the early 90s, but I had not seen it since. Yeah. How about you?
Good.
And also, happy St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, happy St. Patrick's Day to you.
Thank you.
My friend. So I had a very similar experience with The Commitments. Again, I saw it in the movie theater with my friend Jean.
Oh.
And this was a time, must have been 91, you said, where we worked together and we would go out after work and go to movies. And yeah, it was a movie kind of thing, time frame for me. We'd just go to the movies all the time. And I remember this being one of those movies. I don't remember having much buzz ahead of time. I don't think I knew much about it aside from, just the poster. Mm-hmm. I remember absolutely loving this movie. Mm-hmm. I thought it was fantastic. And this is my sort of music.
Nice.
And I 100% loved this movie soundtrack. Mm-hmm. I loved the movie itself. I thought it was funny and interesting, and it was set in a place that I wouldn't normally see a movie, and it was really interesting just watching the way they lived and their relationships with each other. It felt super authentic.
Right?
I felt like I was there. I felt like I was actually in Ireland with these people.
And that's what I'm agreeing with you, and that's what I meant earlier. You're saying it better than I did. Because it's just to be in a different place and to feel, it feels, even though it's Dublin and some rougher parts of Dublin in the early 90s, exotic is the wrong word, but it takes you to a different place.
It seems like a different place in time.
Yeah.
And jumping to now for a second,
Yeah.
I was watching this with Matt, my husband,
Yeah.
who has seen it a million times, and he's actually been to Ireland. And even just last night, I'm watching it, and I'm like, is this really how it is in Ireland? Because it feels like it's in, like, decades ago. Like, not just
the 90s.
3 decades that we're talking about here, but, like, it feels like it's in the 50s almost.
Yeah.
Because of the lack of technology and just the surroundings and things. And he said, yeah, in the 90s, it is pretty much like, it was pretty much like that. So it does make you feel like you're in a different time and place.
Yeah.
So, but I really loved it. And the soundtrack for me, so I bought the soundtrack, listened to it endlessly.
Wow.
Like in my car, constant. So here's the thing about the soundtrack. It's amazing. There was a volume 2.
Yes. Yep.
I had the volume 2 as well.
Yeah.
And I had it on cassette.
Yeah.
When I got a new car with a DVD player, a CD player, I bought the CDs.
Okay.
Both CDs.
Wow.
Constantly. And they still, I will tell you right now, they still play the Commitments version of Mustang Sally on the radio a lot.
Oh, wow.
So much so that I've been in places like a bar and listened and heard it, and I would say, this is the Commitments. And would be challenged and won. But it had such an impact on me. I adored that soundtrack.
Yeah.
And even last night I'm watching, I'm like, I need to get that soundtrack out wherever it is, or do it, whatever, stream it or whatever.
A little trivia, that first soundtrack went crazy. I mean, I don't even know how many millions of copies it sold, but but even the volume 2 went gold.
The
which
volume
I think
2
is
was
like
just
500,000 copies. I mean, it was still a decent hit, volume 2.
Volume 2 was just as good as volume 1.
Yeah.
It had songs on there that weren't even in the movie.
Right.
It was so good. Just the kind of songs I would scream, just sing at the top of my lungs in the car constantly. So
what's funny is, and I think I can share this a little bit, my memory, because we're talking about then, I remember this being like a big hit. Mm-hmm. It barely made its budget back. It was not a hit, which is even stranger that the soundtrack went so crazy. I mean, it's dissimilar but similar to The Greatest Showman, because The Greatest Showman was not a huge box office hit. The soundtrack was, I think, I could be wrong, but I think in like the top, albums for like I think for up to a year after the movie was even done. So it's like, and that's the Hugh Jackman movies. So it was like, so it's just interesting when you have a movie that is not a film box office hit, but that has a top selling soundtrack. It's bizarre to me.
It is very interesting. I also feel like this is the type of movie that people watch over and over and over again. And I don't know what that does to the sales figures and things. I have no idea where all that money business comes in. But I've talked to several people, and they tell me that they've watched it over and over again. In fact, my very own husband, last night we were having this conversation, and I always knew he liked The Commitments, but I never knew how much he liked The Commitments. Mm-hmm. But he told me he had it, and he watched it over and over and over again. And he said, he's kind of backtracked, but he originally said, I've watched this 120 times, easily. And I'm like, 120 times?
Well, it's very specific.
Yeah.
Too.
Well, and so with him, it was like 2 different phases of his life. Okay. Like he had roommates and
when he was in a band too.
He was in a band, yes, of course. But he would watch it with his, roommates every night over us, during the summer. And then he was living with somebody else and he watched it with them many, many times. So that's why he kind of came up with that number. And I questioned the 120, and then he kind of backpedaled and said, okay, fine, probably more like 75 or whatever. But even that, I mean, that's a lot of times to watch a movie. Yeah. I've never seen a movie that many times.
Yeah. It's a good point. I feel like, I know this had a second life on VHS, as a lot of movies do. This made $14 million, I think, at the box office. It was made for $14 million. So it just broke even. But yeah, so I guess VHS gave it a second life, and then people started buying the soundtrack from there. But
Right.
anyway, yeah, but I was surprised when I did a little bit of trivia on this. I was like, in my mind, revisionist history, I was like, that was a huge hit. Everyone saw that movie, and no, they didn't.
Right. It's really
at least not in the theater. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's dive into now. So right off the bat, so I've actually been to Dublin. I went to Dublin in 2000. I went to see my friend Jenny. Jenny, if you're listening, hi. And Jenny lived in Dublin. And what year was it? 2004, I want to say. Maybe 2003, 2004. And I had a really great time. It just truly, everywhere you go, people will chat you up and are very friendly, nice. Guinness is the drink of, it's not a stereotype. It's like, you would just go in and it's like, Guinness. and I just, met so many nice people, like, through Jenny, but then also just, like, just being in bars and going out and stuff. And it was a super fun time. I have to be honest, growing up so close to Boston and spending time in Boston as we have, and, it's like, there's something very easy to not easy to navigate location wise, but I think easy to navigate personality wise. I think the cities feel very similar to me. But yeah, anyway, all that to say, I did love Dublin because there's a line in here that says the Irish are the blacks of Europe, Dubliners are the blacks of Ireland. And oh god, there's one more, and like the something are the blacks of Dublin. Right. Yeah. So and then I'm black and I'm proud. And so it's funny because it's like, is it like appropriating a culture if you're so like upfront? Like they're not, like the commitments even within the movie are just a creation. Like
yes,
they're like soul. We're gonna do soul. Like they're a total product. And I totally forgot about that part. That it's like, oh no, this was like a mission. This is just a mission to bring soul to more people.
Yes.
And I thought that was really an interesting thing that to be honest, I forgot a lot about this movie.
I forgot a little bit about this movie.
But that was like my first real note. I was like, oh yeah, this is like a total product. Like it wasn't like these kids all found each other and and found this love of the music. It was like, no, they were brought together through auditions.
Right.
And were forced to do this kind of music that not too many of them were super even familiar with.
Even understood. Yeah, they didn't know what it was. Right. Exactly. They came from different backgrounds and things. Yeah. But yeah, no, I remember that part. I forgot a lot about it, but I remember that part about Jimmy just wanting to create this soul band.
Yeah.
An Irish soul band.
Yeah.
I remembered that part, but I couldn't remember exactly. For some reason, it's so weird. I forgot about the audition part, which is bizarre to me that I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Because it was such a long part. It was a huge segment.
I think it was a lot of the trailer was the audition footage.
Yeah, it's funny. Like for some reason, I just forgot about that. I did feel like it was put together by Jimmy, but I thought, similar to you, that it was friends.
Yeah.
People that he already knew that he's bringing together. And maybe Joey was like a new element that kind of heard about it and came. I remember that part of it because he's like that older gentleman.
Yeah.
I felt like the lead singer was maybe someone that wasn't part of the friends. But aside from that, I thought it was mostly just like the friends that this guy Jimmy decided to put this thing together. But I do remember it being the creation of a soul band.
Oh, okay.
That part of it I do remember.
Yeah. I certainly remember the music. I did forget that element of it, that they were like, none of them were really familiar with it other than Jimmy.
Which was fun.
So my second note is, how many times is fuck off said?
Oh my gosh.
Did that jump out at you like every single...
It was like, so good. And it made me laugh every time.
Because sometimes it was like, do you have the time, darling? Fuck off! Fuck the right off. Like, it's like, oh my god. It's like, all he said was, can I have the time? Like,
it's the go-to expression, starting, I think, with the old man who's sleeping, and a little child comes running past him at the wedding.
Yeah.
And he just wakes up, he's like, fuck off! It's like,
and it is the
so
response.
Damn funny.
It is the response for everything in this movie. And it's like so hostile.
It
but
is.
It's like, I don't think they were like, it's funny because I think every woman, I shouldn't want to generalize, I am generalizing, believes everyone in the commitments believes that every guy talking to her is completely hitting on her. And every time it happens, she says, fuck off. It is so funny.
It is so funny. I love every fuck off there was.
Yeah.
I laughed. I loved, actually, starting from the beginning, I loved that whole wedding scene.
Yes.
That wedding scene, to me, I felt like I, as a child, have been to many weddings exactly like that.
Yeah.
Just in like a hall with the drunk people, the man, the old man falling asleep, the bad band, kids sliding across the floor in their socks, and oh my gosh, it was so, it felt like a reunion to me.
Yeah.
Watching that wedding, it was so great. Again, authentic. I'm going to be probably saying that word throughout this entire episode.
I completely agree, and I think, I really do, and I think like with all the I don't want to say band footage, but the band scenes, when the performance scenes, I'm being dead honest. I'm really trying to think of another movie where I was like, where I truly, I mean, it's so cliche, but I really felt like I was there. Mm-hmm. Like you feel like, oh my God, what a fun show that could have been, would have been to be at, and to be in like a bar like that. And I'm sure I mentioned this with Mystic Pizza, but again, it's it's like that, COVID era longing of like, I miss being out at like a local place, like hanging out with friends and drinking and talking and watching live music or whatever, It's and I think this movie does a really great job. And what's so great, you mentioned, keep saying, authentic, but it's even more wild because these actors and these performers, didn't have much acting experience at all. No. They're mostly musicians, and they really do seem very natural, organic, very comfortable with each other.
Yes.
And with being on camera. It was really, that was one thing that really jumped out at me.
Yes, and I'm sure this might be part of your trivia, but that Andrew
Stone, 16
years old.
16.
Blows my mind. It blew my mind then.
Yeah.
And that was a big talk. Like, this kid's 16 years old.
Yeah.
He looks 28.
Yes.
If not 32.
A little older, I would have said 32. Yeah.
Yeah. This guy, and the voice on him,
oh
my gosh, so talented.
Well, and even the acting.
There's that
one fist fight, there's no stunt doubles. I didn't catch any. And they're pushing each other really hard. Yeah. And he gets thrown into the trash. But also, the scenes where he's drunk and, falls off the stage. He's just slobbering around.
Such a good character.
But it's an excellent performance. Yeah. And I forgot. I'm sure we heard that back then. But I definitely forgot he was 16.
Yeah, I remember that from way back when, with just talking about how...
Yeah, Deco is the character's name.
Yes.
Deco, yeah.
Leading back to what you were saying about sort of the chemistry and the greenness.
Yeah.
You get that people think he is obnoxious, and they're not reacting in an unrealistic way. They're really, maybe it's all that fuck offs that makes it so true, but I love, one of my favorite scenes is their first real performance up on the stage. Yeah. They're in this hall with a bunch of kids.
Well, it's a religious
that's
thing,
right, the heroin kills
right,
sign.
Heroin kills.
But what I love so much about that is, for a movie to have these characters up on the stage trying to do this performance for the first time and looking so naturally awkward, but also seeing that they're trying and they're trying to be professional, but they are really awkward and they are very nervous. They're all very nervous and stiff, and it's so realistic. And I think that brings us back to where you were saying, you feel like you're there, because it does. It feels like you're in this hall with this sort of amateur band.
The awful, shitty kids running all around the audience.
Oh my gosh.
It feels like there's a lot of little details, and some of it never comes into fruition. You keep thinking that the kids are going to trip over the what do you call it? The panel board and break it. You think this is going to happen. And shit does happen, but it's not what you think is what's going to happen.
Right.
And so, there's an explosion. They have to bring the guy to the hospital. But it doesn't really change anything.
But that was a different performance, though.
That wasn't the first one?
I don't think that was the first one, was it?
Oh, shit. I don't remember. But But I guess my point is like, it's all these things, like, you know, it's like the kid's like, oh my God, my mom's in the audience, and the mom's like, you know, and you keep, so I guess in the back of your mind, you're like, oh God, what is the mom gonna do? Or what is that kid gonna do? But it's like, nothing happens, but I think, and because nothing happens, it feels more authentic.
Yes.
Like, all the worries you have about whatever, being up in front of people or watching, like, a new band or something like that, it's like all these things that could potentially go wrong. Nothing really goes wrong. It's all there, and it's all bubbling, but nothing ever really happens, and I think that it's just so great.
And
it's like,
just,
fun to watch.
it's just the performance that happens. Like,
right.
This is it. Like, it's not leading to anywhere. This is just their first performance.
Yeah.
It's great.
The word deadly is said a lot. That's some slang. It means great or hot. Nice. I had never heard that. Well, I've obviously heard it before when I saw the movie, but it never registers the number of times they say it. Mm-hmm. I've never heard that slang.
And bleeding is a big thing, too, that they say a lot.
Oh, bleeding.
The first time I heard it, it was throughout. The girl, I have her name. I wrote down all the names.
Is it Imelda?
Imelda, the blonde.
Beautiful.
Oh my God.
And I don't even know. And I actually looked her up on Letterboxd. Is like, what has she done?
She hasn't really done anything.
Not much. I mean, I don't know if she kept with singing. I didn't really research it too much, but she's fantastic.
Yeah, she was so good. They were all so good. They really were all so good. It was great casting. Mm-hmm. Anyway, it was at the wedding scene, and Jimmy came up to her and said something like, "Oh, I guess you're next." And she's like, "Why me? I'm not bleeding pregnant."
Speaking of dialogue, oh my gosh, what was the older guy's name?
Joey.
When he said...
Joey the Lips.
Joey the Lips. And he said, God sent me. God blows my trumpet. and what's funny is, it actually endears Jimmy to Joey. Mm-hmm. And yet, Christina, something happened pretty recently with me where I was waiting for a lift, and the time kept going from 10 minutes to 13 minutes, 10 minutes. And I just texted the driver and I was like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, God told me to go a different way, so I'm going a different way.
Right.
And I went, cancel ride. Cancel ride. Good luck with that. And it's like, and it's so bad for me to even admit that, but the reason I bring it up is because it actually endears Jimmy to Joey.
Yes.
But then it gets really even funnier because Joey leaves, and Jimmy's dad, who is amazing, colmmeaney.
He was probably my favorite
It's
character.
So great.
And I didn't have much of a recollection of him from that before.
Neither.
And this time around, I'm like, I loved every single minute he was on this screen. He was hilarious.
Yeah. And he's like, you know, kind of like, what's his story? And he's like, God sent him. And he's like, on a Suzuki? But I just loved it. And and it's funny because when you have a character like Joey who is so like God, you know, he's so, what's the word? Like spiritual.
Yes.
That you wonder if he's full of shit. There's plenty of times where you're like, he's a big name dropper, and you're like, oh, come on. Like, you know, how much is, like, the Elvis story, and then Elvis said, you know, don't be mad at my dad. Or don't my daddy, or something like that. Because his dad puked in the guy's, you know, instrument.
And then the father was hilarious.
Like, he was so engrossed with the Elvis stuff.
It was obsessed with
It's
Elvis.
Also good. Like they thought about these characters, they gave them interest, and then even the mom, when she's like, what did she say at the end of the story? She's like, "Not sweet Jesus." It was something like that. Like, good dear God. Something like she couldn't believe this amazing Elvis
story.
story.
That's one of the reasons I think this movie, I liked this movie so much, was the secondary characters had so much depth to them. Mm-hmm. They really did a nice job with character development. With some of they didn't have to do all that with his dad or his mom or Joey's mother.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean, they didn't have to have, they could have just had a line or even...
You know what else I appreciate? I appreciate they didn't kill Joey's mother.
Oh, yeah.
I kept thinking they were going to kill her off, and I don't know why I felt that. And I
been a little dark.
As a plot twist. Like, you know, like his mom dies and he can't perform one night. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But I forgot that she, you know, came out of that unscathed.
Yeah. Well, was she though?
I did. I did love. I think the cast does a great job with facial expressions, Christina, and I wrote the word authentic.
Ah.
I wrote facial expressions, of which there are many reaction shots. There's a lot of, that is, I loved it and I hated it. Like, there's a lot of just reaction shots, but they all feel authentic and sometimes really, really funny.
Well, Bernie, I think, the short-haired girl.
Yeah.
She, I think, was... I think she might have been my least favorite character watching it originally.
Oh, okay.
She, aside from the father, she was probably my favorite character as far as the band goes, because she was who she was.
Yeah.
She had the best expression. She had the best one-liners. Mm-hmm. She was always telling everybody to fuck off. She was just so angry, but also likable at the same time.
Yeah.
And you just don't that's hard to do, to be like an angry but also likable person.
Yeah. I know it's very hard to do from personal experience. Yeah. It's my everyday life.
I can see that.
Another one, this may have even been in the trailer, but I laughed all over again when he's like, stop. He's like, it's ride, Sally, ride, not ride, Sally, ride. Yeah. Oh my God. I don't know. But I loved, again, I mean, I'm a sucker for accents. Mm-hmm. Like, I thought it had a lot of, like, you know, I guess the word authentic keeps coming, but authentic humor. I did laugh when the guy's like, that he stole, the guy that played the piano, stole the piano from his grandmother. Yeah. I was like, sure, no, it's gone.
She doesn't really go in the front row.
There's a really funny sequence, and please feel free to interrupt me. I know I'm just going.
No, that's okay.
Shallow diving all over. But hilarious scene when they bring the sign in, and it says, you know, heroin kills, but it's spelled heroin like a female.
With an E at the end, yeah.
And then, but I think that whole scene is really funny. From like swearing in front of the priest to like getting the bouncer at the door to the twins running in, asking for Jimmy, and it's just the comedic timing and the timing of that whole scene. And I just thought it was I just laughed out loud.
It was great.
Yeah, it was really. It was
a great
really
scene. All the interactions. So the thing is with this movie, almost every scene, almost every interaction is so interesting and so fun, but it doesn't feel like you're watching a movie. I think it feels like you're in the room watching all this shit happen.
Yeah. The only thing I don't have too many negatives, but one of my negatives is a little bit what you're saying. Like, I wish the fighting was a little bit, like, particularly among the women, was a little bit deeper than did you fuck Joey? Because I feel like that sort of made the characters a little weaker, and because I feel like they're too strong for that. I mean, when every other line is like fuck off, and these very strong female characters, to see sort of have them like as if the only reason why women ever fight is over a guy. It just felt like, and the only times they fought were over a guy, and I was just like, I don't know. I wish there was something else.
Yeah, but what else? I mean, I think part of that is they're all sort of fighting over petty stuff.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely.
You know, I mean, everybody is, not just the girls. Like,
but the guys aren't fighting over girls.
But the guys are fighting over almost like ego stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, the saxophone player wants to do his own little riffs.
Right.
And Deco, the lead singer, wants to have better towels or whatever. You know, it's just like all this like ego stuff.
Yeah.
And I think the girls fighting, it makes sense because that is a kind of an ego thing for them. Because, you know, they're sleeping with the same guy. They're all sleeping with the same guy. And it all kinds of comes to a head where it's like, no, well, you were first and da-da-da. And they're physically like passing his helmet around, throwing it at each other.
Right.
And it comes back to the beginning when you were talking about how they assume everybody is like hitting on them, and they put a lot of weight in, you know, their looks and their, you know. So I understand what you're saying. It would have been nice for them to have some sort of deeper argument, but I don't think it would. I think part of the reason why it works the way it does is because you're looking at these behind the scenes stuff and it's all petty.
Yeah.
Like, if they came up and were like, oh, I want to have a solo or da-da-da-da, it seems a little too deep for the whole overall feeling of the pettiness of the fighting and the, immaturity of everybody involved. Mm-hmm. So, I kind of feel like it fell into where it needed to be.
I guess I wish it had been more about the music than the fighting, because I feel like with the guys it was like, it almost felt more, with the guys it felt like what was best for the band, and with the girls it was like...
No, it wasn't though. It wasn't. They were all not thinking about the band at all. They were thinking about what's best for themselves individually. That's the whole point. They weren't thinking about the band at all. Mm-hmm. The trombone, whatever, the saxophone player, and even the electric guitar player was doing his own little thing.
I guess I could see them twisting it into their vision of the band, perhaps. Like even if it's ego, even if it's like Deco saying, "I need more me time," or "I need more of a central thing. I have fans. I have fans now," which he says at one point. And then the other guy wanting to infuse a little bit more musical variety into like his saxophone playing or whatever it is. So, but that's what I mean. It's more about like their musicality, their musical skill, and how great they think they are. Right. And the girls are fighting about this guy. Right. I hear you saying. Thank you. Jesus.
How can I not?
And do you feel guilty because you were pointing right at me for 3 straight minutes, Christina?
I will point for much longer than that.
I'm going to be really honest. I don't have very many notes.
Oh my gosh, let me see.
I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed it too. Yeah. I don't have a ton of notes either. I did say that I love that everybody hates Deco because he's just such an ass. Like, just everybody's telling him to fuck off. Nobody likes him. Yeah. And he's obviously sort of the star of the band.
Completely.
So it just seemed like a lot of these kind of 80s rock band behind the scenes stories you hear about a lot with the ego and all that kind of stuff, and the whole band hates them. It gave you a real look into that life. Yeah. Didn't it? Did you feel like I'll never be a manager now?
I think one of the scenes I like the best was when they are all fighting backstage. Just really towards the end, I think. And they're on and they go out there and everything is just completely fine.
Oh my god, I loved it. I wrote that down. I said I loved all the fighting backstage. And then they all get back up on stage, and they're all smiles. So I love that so much. I also wrote that the movie makes you really feel, for managers, there's so much crap, there's so much babysitting, egos, and problems, money problems. I said wheeling and dealing.
Yeah.
Wheeling?
That's right.
Is that right?
Wheeling and dealing.
I think I spelled it right. And so much work.
Yeah.
And then there's still the ones that are to blame when things don't work. It's like you just feel so bad for these managers.
Well, Carl and I are rewatching 30 Rock right now, and Liz Lemon like running all around trying to manage these egos and everything else. It's not dissimilar. Like and it is funny. It's like this poor kid. And I'm telling you, that big fight with that guy that he took the equipment from, and he's like, I'll give you some now, I'll give you some when I get paying gigs. He got a paying gig. And I'm just telling you, if he had just physically in his hand managed his money better, the fight wouldn't even have happened. Right. The guy just wanted the money. Yeah. But because he was but then what happened, I think like my take on that scene was like, oh, he had the money all along. Because he has all this money now. But it's like really...
He was literally just paid.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, so it's just like, I was a little disappointed in that fight. I feel like Jimmy's a little smoother than that. And I think it was just a lot of things at once. Like you're saying, she was trying to manage the whole entire band. There's chaos everywhere. Too many people, this, that, and the other thing. And then he has this wad of cash. The guy shows up to get the money back. Then the bouncer... and it's just one thing after another. And I agree. And at the same time, I was like, I think Jimmy is a little smoother than that.
But he's still inexperienced. But I agree with you. He could have handled it a lot better.
You don't take out a giant wad of cash in front of someone that you said, I don't have any money.
Right. Exactly. And that was definitely a middle-aged lens for me because I really felt for the guy that he owed money to.
Same.
Right?
Christina, same. I was
like, just give him some money.
Perfect. Christina, I think I said it out loud. I was
Oh
like,
my
oh,
gosh.
just give him the money.
You owe him this money.
You owe him that
promised.
You promised. And the guy was nice enough to give him all the stuff.
Yes. And he also gave him another little warning when he was in the pool hall.
Yeah.
He's like, where's my money? You've had a gig. I
Yeah.
mean, he's not wrong.
That's right.
But I don't think he got paid.
Threatening physical violence is one thing, but oh my god, and the headbutt with the blood
Oh, I don't like that. That was his go-to move, that drummers. Oh, I didn't like that at all.
God.
He did that with Deco, too.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that was rough.
But yeah, that was funny about, having that middle-aged lens.
But also, really quick, Andrew Strong, so Deco.
Yes.
So he's only 48. That makes him 48 right now.
I
Isn't that
know.
so funny? Yeah, he's younger.
Crazy.
Well, he was younger then. I guess he's younger now.
He's still younger. Still younger. I did say that I loved the scene where... Hold on. Natalie came out and was sort of flirting with Jimmy.
Yeah.
And wanted to share a cab. I loved that scene.
Did you know what she meant?
Absolutely, I knew what she meant.
Oh, okay. Whoa.
Yeah, that was like my go-to phrase. Do you want to share a cab? No, I'm just kidding. No, but I didn't know because she had that look and she was kind of looking at him and she follows him out. Yeah. And it was literally seconds after they had this big conversation about their relationships, personal relationships.
True.
And then she comes following him. Do you want to just share a cab? I love that I thought he was a really, really good manager in that scene because he knew exactly what she was talking about. And he's like, what are you talking about? No, of course, I'm not going to share a cab. I was just talking about this.
Yeah.
And then she comes back with, well, what if you weren't my manager? And but I am.
That's right.
Goodbye.
Yep. There's even that little brief moment where the girls are talking and they're like, do you think he's... You know,
yes,
and they don't say gay, but that's what they meant.
Well, yes, it was they were walking,
Yeah.
and because he hadn't hit on them.
Any of them.
It goes right back to that. He hasn't hit on them. He must be gay.
Yeah. It is so funny because it's like, and you know, I really do see your point about the earlier conversation, but it's like, their whole, it's not even their self-esteem or their self-worth, because they're so like, fuck off. Like, I don't really need a guy. Which is why I think I was going back a little bit disappointed.
Yeah, very tough girls. I will say, I really, really loved at the beginning of the movie, was like, I guess not really beginning, but it was towards the beginning of the movie, when Bernie she missed a couple of rehearsals.
Yes.
And he came looking for her, and you see like this chaotic world that she lives in.
Yeah.
And she looks at him and she said, I need something to look forward to.
Yeah.
And I think that really summed up that whole band. Didn't you feel like that was like...
Well, that's what Joey said at the end. He's like...
Oh, that's right. What
do you say? Right. Like the band... Oh shit! I think I even screenshot it in the dialogue, but it was like
it's like the hope.
It's not. He's like the band. The success is irrelevant.
Yeah.
It's like you gave them something to shoot for. Like it's like whether or not they get there is beside the point. It's like the band's irrelevant. It's like that you gave them a different outlook on life.
Yes.
Because it's like these kids. It's like they're living in sort of this like rougher parts of Dublin. They don't have much like hope in their lives and stuff like that. And then it's like suddenly they start to really care about each other. Mm-hmm. I mean, about themselves,
yes,
I should say, about themselves and find their self-worth and like understand that they're talented
to see that
and
there's
to get
other things out there. There's
and, like,
a way out.
Yeah, and I'm paraphrasing because Joey said it a lot better than I did. But it like that was the essence of it. Is like like you gave them a whole different outlook on their on life, not even their lives, but just life in general. And I think that was really nice.
How did you feel about the end when Wilson Pickett actually does show up?
I was glad because I didn't like thinking that Joey was a liar.
I thought Joey was a liar throughout the whole movie.
Okay.
Even back then, and even watching it last night, I'm like, does he show up? I can't remember.
Yeah, Christina, I couldn't remember that. I couldn't remember. I forgot that they broke up at the end. Did you remember that?
I did remember that. Okay. Yes, I remember them breaking up, and I remember being sort of sudden. Like, I expected it to more to happen. I was looking forward to more performances. I felt like they were just beginning, and I was waiting for more, and all of a sudden it was like they all just broke up. Yeah. And I was like very disappointed about that.
And I'm telling you, this, like I said, this movie didn't do a lot at the box office, and I wonder if they had stayed together to rock on another day, if more people would have seen it.
Maybe. I would have liked it better. I personally would have liked it better back then, although I did love that they broke up this time. As an adult watching, I love that scene where Jimmy just takes a look at this chaos that's going on, and he was done right then and there. Just walks away. Yeah. He's like, forget it, I can't do this. Yeah. And I was like, neither would I, my friend.
Oh, yeah.
I love that so much more than I did back then. I think back then I was disappointed because I wanted more music. I wanted them to figure it out and just get past all this other crap. But as a child, watching it is different than watching it as a middle-aged person, realizing, no, there's no figuring this stuff out. Like, this is not going to work. So I really like that. But I was feeling it was a little too neat, I guess. That was the only thing. It was a little bit... If there was anything that was not authentic about this movie, it was Wilson Pickett driving up at the end. And I'm like... I liked knowing that Joey wasn't a liar, but it was weird the way it all worked out. Like, it was weird how he pulls up in the limo, and he just happens to find Jimmy to ask the question to. Like, it was just a little too convenient for me.
Well, at the same time, he missed it, and he was just going back to his hotel.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like that felt very in sync with the movie.
Yeah.
In that way. I actually really liked it, because I liked, like I said, knowing that Jimmy wasn't a liar. I'm fighting a sneeze. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh. Go ahead and sneeze.
It's going to happen.
Sneezes are
Oh
funny.
my god, sorry.
Do you want me to edit that out?
No, it's okay. Just some casting stuff. So throughout this movie, there's the Cores. Remember the Cores?
Oh yeah,
Breathless. Sure. So they're scattered throughout this movie, and the guy who played, he has kind of like the red scraggly hair.
Oh yeah. The guitar player.
The skinny one. So his name is Glenn. Oh my god.
I didn't write that down. I wrote a lot of them down, but I didn't write them down.
God. Glenn had something. Do you ever see the movie called... It's a movie called Once. Did you ever see that movie?
No.
You should watch it, and Matt would really like it too. I think it also takes place in Dublin, if not Dublin, somewhere in Ireland. And he's the lead. And it's great. And he's still producing music. I'm so sorry, I can't remember his last name. Glenn something. Oh my god. It's with Glenn H. It's not Glenn like Hazard, but it's something like that. I can't believe it.
Interesting.
Yeah. Sorry, Glenn, if you're listening. But great. And that movie Once is also very good. And that's, believe it or not, it's on my notes. Are you ready for my match game?
I think I am.
Okay. Oh, Glenn Hansard. Hansard.
Oh, good.
Hansard.
I'm glad
Glenn
you
Hansard.
remembered that.
Thank God. He played, was his name Outpost in this movie?
Outpost.
Was his name Outpost?
I don't know what his name was.
Out something? Okay.
Oh my god, I almost just queued up the wrong music. Oh my god.
Please don't. Alright. Let me know when you're ready. For the match game.
I had it queued up and now it's not queued up. Hold on. Well, you can ask the question.
Okay. Well, the last show of The Commitments was really rough and rowdy.
How rough and rowdy was it?
Well, the cover charge... got you a ticket, but it also came with a blank.
Oh, good one.
Oh,
shoot.
It's alright, just turn up the volume. There you go.
It's gonna...
Christina's running the music this time around.
And I dropped my phone. Okay, hold on a second. Hold on. It's chaos. Talk about your thing. All right, so...
Oh, my God. Oh, and on Patreon, we should say we're going to be picking our favorite tracks from the Commitment soundtrack.
That's right.
It's going to be harder for me because this isn't really my style of
Oops
music.
This went too long. No, but it might be harder for me too because
it's been a while.
I loved every song.
Do you have an answer?
Say the question again one more time.
The Commitment's last show was really rough and rowdy. The cover charge got you a ticket and a blank.
Okay, I got it. Ding.
Ding. All
a
right.
Ticket and a gun.
Oh, a little too violent. I did baseball bat.
Oh! Well,
that's very
just
close.
as violent. Just
very
as
close.
Violent. All right. So I also have a match game question.
Excellent.
I have no idea if the music's going to work this time around, but we'll see.
Okay.
Okay. So Natalie.
Yeah.
Poor Natalie.
Poor Natalie.
I'm not saying that Natalie was easy.
Oh, jeez.
But in high school, when they had the superlatives,
yes.
right? She was voted most likely to blank.
Oh.
This is going to play.
Okay. All right. It's okay. It's all right.
It's just, I'll have to practice on this. What was she voted most likely to by her peers?
Oh, God.
Brian, do you have an
Ding,
answer?
I do.
Ding. Ooh.
Most.
Oh, my God.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, my God. Okay.
Most likely to get pregnant out of wedlock.
Oh, my gosh. I had get pregnant!
Yay! But that scene was harrowing. You mentioned that, and I meant to say that. That scene is really done well. With the kids screaming, and you just felt for her.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Oh
Really,
yes, when the kid was
scene.
there,
Yeah.
that was a really great scene.
Good
And
scene.
it was so like Deco to start just playing the drums, like being an ass.
Oh yeah, totally.
Oh, were you talking about that scene, or were you talking about when she brought the kid with her to rehearsal?
Oh God, that was awful too.
That was awful too.
Oh my God, I don't even know which one was worse. I think I just felt bad for when we visited her at home.
Yeah,
and
that's
just
And
chaos.
she had 5 kids around
I
her.
know.
Yeah, crazy.
Oh, so
right.
Christina, wait, more,
Oh my
less,
gosh.
about the same.
Oh my gosh, I think it was maybe this. I really loved it. Maybe about the same. Maybe even a little bit more. I actually think maybe a little more.
I think a little bit more for me too.
Because even just sitting with Matt watching it, and he was enjoying it so much, and he's quoting it, and it was just a really fun movie to do it. But I will say one thing. What's funny about before when I first saw it, I actually felt like there was more of a love story for some reason with Natalie. And I know, I felt like it was more of a love story with, not really a love story so much, but an infatuation with her and Joey. Huh. I had this memory of them together, and I don't know, it was a weird thing to have it not be that, it was very minor, that little thing with her.
That's bizarre.
Yeah, isn't that funny? And I've seen it several times too.
Yeah. My thing is, I thought the performance scenes were amazing, and I really admired the negative, or not negative ending, but the unhappy ending.
Yes. Yeah.
Great.
It was good. And that's it for this episode of Old Roommates. Thank you for listening. For bonus content, please visit us at patreon.com/oldroommates.
And follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, @oldroommates. Thanks for listening. See you next time.